take some down. Forward. Alright guys, so I don't have a stock coil, and with the wire tuck there's a couple odds and ends that are a little bit different, so I had to put the MSD coil back in that was originally in the car, just kind of temporarily wired it up just to make sure that I can get the engine to fire. The reason for that is you can see the salt and pepper shaker right here. There's actually not enough slack in the wires to be able to clip it on the intake properly how it should be, so I might actually route those back through from the hole over there and just try and clean things up a little bit, make it all work and look presentable at the same time. You can see I got some vacuum lines a little bit in a mess over here. That's because the Edelbrock intake that was in the car actually has all the fittings for the vacuum lines pretty much sticking off the back, which eliminated the vacuum tree. So I went ahead and stuck a vacuum tree back on there. So other than that, everything's pretty much buttoned up. The fuel lines are on, all the headers are bolted up. I'm going to try and crawl underneath and see if I can get the V-bands somewhat clamped on, just so that it's not too outrageously loud when I first fire it, and then check for any last little vacuum lines. And this thing runs probably, I think I'm 2 hours into getting this engine back in and everything wired up and plumbed up. So after that, I'll probably put in a couple more hours just to, again, clean up final details, get the rad in, all of those other things, and get the car back up in the air, and make sure to get the steering rack and everything else torqued down to spec, because it was just kind of loosely done out in the gravel on the ground earlier. You can see the car is sitting a lot different now. We cut those springs, sitting really good in the front, so we'll give it a treatment in the rear once everything is running and good to go for the road. But other than that, the moment of truth is moments away to see if, you know, successful motor, K-member, everything swap in probably about a full day's work. Accessory belt isn't installed just because I don't want to spin the water pump, because I don't have the radiator or the main cooling hoses in yet. Just want to make sure that the car will fire. I do have the old MAF in there, which is calibrated to the injectors in the other motor, but it should be good enough to see if the car will run. The only real thing that I wouldn't be 100% sure about is just because I unwired that MSD ignition, but it's really just the 2 coil wires. So everything should be fine there. Gonna plug the fuel pump relay back in underneath the seat because we unplugged that before we started, and then turn the switch at the back here since the battery is still mounted in the trunk. So hopefully now we have some power, and see if this thing will run. So here's our fuel pump relay in case you're not familiar with it. If you have a pre-92.5, that relay fits right in underneath in here. All right, here we go. Prime that fuel pump a couple times. There we go. Old faithful 5-liter. This thing ran really good in lemon drop, so I'm not surprised that it didn't just fire right up here. That's it. That's the first start that you guys heard. Nothing has been... Oh, see, she's struggling a little bit there. So we'll find out what's going on. Like I said, nothing was rehearsed here. This is first time real startup, but we got juice, guys. So, a little bit of a rough idle after I fired up last time. Number one, I actually forgot to plug the mass air meter wire clip in, and number two, the vacuum line that comes off the intake manifold that goes down to your pollution box and all that stuff, that was wide open. So I just jammed a spark plug in there. We're going to fire this up for the second time. Hopefully everything's good to go. There we go, seems to be a lot better. Let's see what happens. It idles down in a second here, but we're not gonna let it run too long. I did put the rat in, but I haven't filled it with coolant yet. Sounds not too bad with all the exhaust that was on the car from before. So again, I think that mass air meter and the vacuum line made a huge difference because the car is idling pretty good. Be burning off a little bit of oil from touching stuff and all that, but actually it's good to roll. Alright guys, so this is one of those transparency moments. Full disclosure, I fucked up. So went to go put coolant in the car after, found the vacuum leaks and everything was sorted. Managed to get the belt on as well because the belt was a little bit, it was too tight just because there was still what was left of the underdrive pulley kit on the alternator. So I swapped that pulley over and went to put coolant in, and there was coolant leaking all over the place out of what looked to be the backside of the water pump. And well, you can see there's a whole bunch of gaskets sitting here behind me. So if we look right down in here, I put the wrong gasket on. Rookie mistake, shit happens, but I just wanted to show you guys that it doesn't matter how many times you work on stuff or how many times you've gone over, you think you know, rookie mistake. So went through the kit here because the kit actually gives you a variety of gaskets because there's 302s to 302, but there's just small little tweaks here and there. And on the housing on the front side of the timing cover here, well, it's a little bit different, and you can see where that leak was coming from because it was just clearly the wrong gasket. So it looks like I have the right one here, and gonna go ahead, get all this surface cleaned up and get the right gasket on there. Hopefully then we can vacuum. I'll vacuum it this time, make sure that it's holding pressure, and if everything's good, get this bolted up and call it a day. Moment of truth. Oh! Sucking her down. You get past those first 3 coils on the passenger side, the spring actually has the same shape and the same amount of rings or coils, therefore the rates should be pretty close. I had them laying around. I wasn't too excited about trying to save them or dealing with people on Marketplace or anything trying to sell them, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to cut them down, going to get the stance looking good on this car. And you can see right here we're looking pretty good. It's kind of like a teaser. We'll do a full reveal in another video.